Welcome, everyone, to today's Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is March 24th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anybody else is recording the meeting, please let us know. This meeting of the ZBA is being conducted remotely in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and shall afford adequate alternative means of public access via Microsoft Teams by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410. Then you have to punch in the conference ID number, which is 489-644-991, and then hit the pound. Or you can join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue/hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. To authorize this hybrid form of meeting, I will call a roll call of all members. Vote yes or no. Please give your full name. Buck.
James Upson, yes.
William Grau, yes.
Randy Potash, yes.
Paul C. Sample, yes.
David S. Nixon, yes.
David R. Thompson, yes.
David H. Reach, yes.
I'll remind you that citizens, non-board members participating in the call via the phone only need to give us their name and the last four digits of their phone number for ID purposes. The meeting is conducted as follows. The hearing notice will be read by the lady to my right. This is Sarah B. Clark. She is the PPO for the town. That's the principal permitting officer. She's also the executive secretary of this board and the HBDC. Then we will have a representative or the individual who has filed the appeal or application to have a presentation. Following that, I would ask for anybody in favor of the appeal or application that wishes to speak to do so. And if you're not here, you can indicate via Microsoft Teams so that Sarah can pick you up and recognize you and introduce you into the meeting. Following that, I'd read any and all letters that we'd receive, whether it be pro, con, or in between. Then we would ask for anybody who wishes to speak against the appeal, has a specific question, to do so again by the same process. Anybody here I would recognize. If you're on Microsoft Teams, Sarah would want to see that little hand come up to introduce you into the meeting. There could very well be rebuttal testimony after that. We would then have board members direct questions to anyone who had presented anything during that above. Following that, we would close the hearing and go into deliberation. Deliberation is for the board members only, not for the members of the public unless a member of the board wishes to introduce someone into the discussion. We will then have a vote in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You need a supermajority. In our case, there are 5 votes. The supermajority means 4, not 3. I would point out the voters today are as follows: Buck, Paul, Dave T., Dave V., and I am not voting today. I've been gone for 12 days. And I was not able today to get out and visit the sites as is expected of a member of the board. So Randy will be voting for me and on all issues. And Buck might have to leave the meeting early, in which case, if he does, then Bill, if you would fill in for Buck, please. This is at the point where I like to forget about the minutes from the previous meeting, but since Chantel is here, I'm not going to do that. Paul?
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 10th, 2022.
Dave Reach seconds.
Okay, that needs a roll call, so I'll call on Buck.
Buck approves.
Randy?
Approve.
Paul?
All approves?
Dave?
Dave does approve.
And I approve.
Okay. Are there any questions? Very well, Sarah, it's time to begin.
Application number 22-015. application number 22-015, Missy Abbey LLC, care of Michael D. Ford Esquire, P.O. Box 485, West Harwich, Mass. 02671, owner of property located at 103 Absegami Run, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13E, Block 23G, Lot A15. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance, generator, 19 feet from the easterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The proposed mechanical system appliance will be located next to an existing AC condenser, which is 23.2 feet from the easterly abutter. The lot contains 21,928 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Ford? And I
Thank
see
you.
you have an assistant with you today, Mr. Oppenheim. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Ford, representing Missy Abbey LLC. The gentleman to my right is Mr. Oppenheim. His interest in this application is twofold. One, the owner of Miss Abbey LLC, my client, is his daughter. And two, he's an abutter. And so I think he's here in both capacities. In addition to that, he's the one who's kind of put this filing together. So not a complicated filing, I don't believe, for the board to consider. We're seeking a special permit to allow a generator to serve 103 Absegami Run. In terms of the need, this house is being connected to sewer, force main sewer, and so just one more reason why in times of power loss, it's important to have some power at the site. There is currently a mechanical system, an AC unit, within the setback, 23.2 feet. The generator is proposed to be a little over 19 feet. The requirement is 25. That triggers the need for the special permit, and a special permit is available because there are mechanical systems there that are already in the setback. After filing initially, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oppenheim went out with the contractor at the proposed location on the plan that we had submitted, only to find that there are a couple of substantial trees in that area that they didn't realize were going to have to be removed if the generator was placed there. And so we filed a revised plan that moves the generator a little farther to the north, but still no closer than the proposed generator that was proposed last time. And so the plan I direct your attention to, and hopefully, Sarah, it was able, you've distributed it, it's here, is still 19 feet off, but as you can see, it's a little farther to the north of the house now. It is still in a location, we believe, that will not affect the abutters. So with that, I have prepared findings with the criteria. I'm not sure, frankly, how many of the criteria actually apply here, but I'll just quickly run through them, Mr. Chairman.
How about 4 out of 11?
Okay.
Any 4 you want.
All right, thank you. We think the site is adequate. It's a 21,000, almost 22,000 square foot lot. It is in an R40 zone, but in this location, there's plenty of room to place the generator away from other people. So we think the site's adequate under number 1. I don't think compatibility with neighboring structures is important, number 2. The extent of the increase in the proposed non-conforming nature is about 4 feet. There's a mechanical system there now in the nature of an air conditioner, and this one will be 4 feet closer, but still almost 20 feet away from the nearest neighbor. Suitability of the site, I don't think that applies. Impact of scale, siting and mass on the neighborhood character, I don't think that applies. Compatibility of use with neighboring uses, I don't think that necessarily complies. Sewage disposal, traffic flow, safety, noise. Noise may apply, so I'll address that one. There was a letter that I think came in from somebody who's not an immediate abutter, but somebody in the neighborhood, that was concerned about noise, and I brought that to Mr. Oppenheim's attention, and he's looked into this particular unit, and he's advised me of the following. The decibel level for this generator is 66 at its highest rate. Put that in context, a typical conversation is 60. So somebody like myself talking here, that's 60. Something that you need to guard your ears from is 70 and over. He tells me that the generator he has at his house next door runs between 68 and 72. That's what most of them are. This one's a little bit better at 66. And a typical air conditioner condenser runs at 68 to 72. So it's right in that area. In addition to that, he does propose, or his daughter proposes with his assistants, to put some shrubs around the generator itself to give it some mitigation in terms of noise when it comes on. So that one was relevant, and that's our response under noise. So we'd ask that you make a finding that this will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what exists.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Is there anyone here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this appeal? If so, please raise your hand here or indicate on the screen. Mr. Oppenheim.
Hi. David Oppenheim. I live at 87 Absegami Run. The immediate butter to the east of this is my driveway, and beyond that is Mike and Lisa Brown, and they've written a letter in favor. We were originally going to put it inside the fenced area, but we realized once we went out there we were going to have to take down 2 trees and build a platform because you have to be 5 feet from combustibles, so the fence would have to be put out. Over the last few years, we've lost 9 trees along the driveway, and we don't want to take any more trees down. Where this is going to be will be just to the north of that, just outside the fenced-in area with shrubbery around it. One of my neighbors at 141 Absegami put 2 16-kilowatt generators, this one's smaller, out in the front lawn with shrubs around it, and there's never been any complaints, and they're substantially closer. The only other comment I would make with regard to Mr. Jewett's thing is we did 2 things. We measured from where this generator will go to his front door. It's over a football field. And just for the heck of it, since people are working on it, I had somebody stand with a chop saw right next to where the generator was going yesterday, and I stood at his front door, and I couldn't hear it. And his bedroom is in the rear of his building. So I'm not, he may be very, very sensitive to noise, but this is going to make hardly any noise. We've had a generator at our house since it was built in '92, and from my perspective, a generator when the power's out is a nice sound to hear. So I would ask that you approve this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would wish to speak in favor of this application? Sir, I don't see anybody on the screen. Do you? Okay. Then I'll read the correspondence. As Mr. Oppenheim mentioned, there's a note from Mr. Jewett at 76 Absegami Run. He, on Friday, March 11th, wrote, with respect to the application for an electrical generator at 103, I have no opposition to a slight variance like this. However, the generators used are very noisy and nonstop during outages and need appropriate sound barriers to direct the noise upwards and away from adjacent homes. There is a backup generator near our house, and although it has a visual area, it has no sound muting. As a result, I could not sleep at all during a power outage in January. Luckily, we weren't there for the subsequent 30-hour-plus outage. Backup generators are necessary, or at least desirable in many instances, but they also need appropriate sound insulation or sound deflection so that neighbors can enjoy their properties. This is not a difficult fix. Then we have a note from Michael L. Brown, 83. As an abutter to the property, he writes on March 11th, as an abutter to the property at 103, please be advised that we have no objection to and support the installation of a generator at the aforementioned property, and that is the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either against this application or has a specific question? If so, please indicate here or on the screen that you wish to speak. We don't see anyone, so we'll have questions from the board. Buck?
Buck has no questions.
Bill?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
I have no questions.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
That takes a vote. Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Randy?
Yes?
Paul?
All votes yes.
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
All right, deliberations. Bill?
I really have nothing to add to this. I don't think this is substantially detrimental to the neighborhood, and I would support it if voting.
Randy?
I agree with Bill, and what I would add is that I applaud your due diligence and all the homework that you did, and very neighborly to offer to put the shrubs there. You did exactly what he wanted, and good job.
Paul?
I agree. I think it clearly is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
I agree also.
And I do as well.
And I have nothing new to add.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I don't see a need for conditions on this property, for this kind of generator installation.
And Dave Veach seconds that.
All right, roll call vote. Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Randy?
Randy votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Congratulations. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. Sarah, 22-016, please.
Application number 22-016, Jonathan and Lisa Goldstein, care of Chris Childs, 537 Route 28, Harwichport, Mass. 02646, owner of property located at 84 Field Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14G, Block 41, Lot B61. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a nonconforming dwelling on a nonconforming lot via the construction of an addition. The existing dwelling is nonconforming and that it is located 24.6 feet from the road where a 40-foot setback is required. The proposed addition will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but it's considered a substantial alteration, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,388 square feet, 9.7%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,768 square feet, 12.3%, where 15% is the max allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 14,371 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Childs?
I'm Mr. Wood, but close. I'm Chris Wood with Patriot Builders. I'm here on behalf of my client, the Goldstein residence, as mentioned by Sarah, for a new addition, roughly 20 feet by 16 and a half feet on the rear of the dwelling. Everything complies with the new addition, setbacks, all regulations. It's the existing property on the front that does not comply with the setbacks. The dwelling is set on a non-conforming lot located in R40 zoning district, which was changed by the town, consisting of approximately 14,371 square feet of area. With a non-conforming single-family residential structure consisting of 1,388 square feet, the structure is non-conforming due to the front setback of 24.6 and is non-conforming lot that is under 40,000. I'm going to go through the criteria as per request. The adequacy of the size of the site, including but not limited to maximum lot or building coverage and setbacks. The proposed building coverage is 12.3, where 15% is the maximum allowed. Compatibility of the size for the proposed structure with neighboring properties. The proposed addition will bring the total living area to approximately 1,370 square feet, which is similar to other dwellings in the neighborhood. Extent of proposed increase in nonconforming nature of the structure or use. The proposed new addition will conform with all setbacks. Suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties and on the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater bodies, and stormwater runoff. The existing grade is fairly level and will be re-landscaped after completion. There is no wetlands within the 100-foot of the property. Impact of scale, sitting of mass on neighborhood visual character, including views, vistas, and streetscapes. The proposed addition is consistent with the visual character of that neighborhood. Compatibility of the proposed use with neighboring uses. The proposed addition is consistent with all neighboring uses. Adequacy of method of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. The existing sewage system is to remain. Impact on traffic flow and safety. The project will not adversely impact traffic flow or safety. Noise and litter. Work will take place during normal business hours, and the site will be kept clean throughout the duration of the project. Adequacy of utilities and other public services. All utilities are existing and adequate. Visual impact on the neighborhood and neighboring uses of any formula business establishment. We feel the alterations will have a positive visual impact on the neighborhood. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate by raising your hand here or on the screen for Sarah to recognize you.
There's no one that wishes to speak in favor of the application.
Thank you. Okay. The correspondence consists of a letter, or an email rather, from Judith Giorgio, the Board of Health. She writes on 3/23, I have reviewed the plan, add and addition this property. There will be no increase in septic flow. The addition will not encroach on the existing septic system. I have no concerns about the project. And that's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here or in the audience who wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? Seeing no one. Questions from the board, Randy?
No questions.
Paul?
I have no questions.
Dave Thompson, no questions.
I have no questions.
Buck?
No questions.
Bill?
I was wondering if you got any feedback from the neighbor, Mr. Magoo, Real Estate Trust. Just out of curiosity.
so.
Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
Roll call. Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Randy?
Yes.
All votes yes.
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Paul?
It certainly looks like a nice project. I think it'll be a compliment to the neighborhood, and I don't see it as substantially more detrimental. Hopefully, they'll maintain the fire pit they have there, which is gorgeous, but I think it's a good project.
Thank you.
Dave?
Thank you. I agree, it is a good project. They do need the extra room, the living space. Beautiful fire pit, I agree, Paul. You're not really going to notice it there with a little bit of planting. I'm very much in favor of it.
Thank you.
Dave?
It meets all of our criteria.
Buck?
And it's not detrimental, substantially detrimental to the neighborhood.
Bill?
I would agree with everyone's comments.
Randy?
And I also agree with everybody's comments.
Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. Can you tell me what your plans are in terms of when you're going to construct?
Once we get that 20-day appeal period over with, it's time to rock and roll because we've got till June 30th to get that property weather tight. So we're looking to start, once we get that permit, rock and roll.
So you're anticipating that after June 30th, you would not be doing any construction?
Well, due to the regulations that hinder us on that, yes, we can't do any work beyond June 30th, but, I think it's more in favor for us if we have to go over a little bit to, get that house weather tight just for the visual effect to the neighbors. I think the neighbors rather see a weather tight house with window, sidewall, and roof than something that does not have any of that and cannot have any more work done after June 30th.
And do you anticipate that you'd be able to keep construction vehicles and so forth?
Yes,
either
there's a
on-site?
driveway there. Yeah, we have plenty of space for vehicles.
All right, well, I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the conditions that all construction activity and vehicles will be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. And that between June 30th and Labor Day, there would be no exterior construction. No work would be permitted on weekends, and construction activity would be between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds.
Roll call. Buck.
Buck votes yes.
Randy.
Randy votes yes.
Paul.
All votes yes?
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave V. votes yes.
That's a unanimous vote, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Sarah, 22-017, please.
Application number 22-017, Evergreen Deals LLC, care of David Dowd, 157 Cullinane Drive, Marlborough, Mass. 01752, owner of property located at 1934 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map, 7E, Block 3A, Lot S2. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 21-020, granted on April 8th, 2021, which allowed for the demolition of the 2 existing dwellings and the construction of 2 new dwellings. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for an alternate driveway curb cut. The approved building coverage will remain 3,864 square feet, 6.7%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 57,137 square feet in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, Section 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Riley?
Good afternoon.
It can't
Bill
be
Wright.
you. I've never seen you without a tie.
Well, pardon my casual clothing.
Okay.
I represented the original applicant here. David Dowd is the new owner of the property, and Bill Terrell is his engineer. At the time we submitted the original application, we did not provide our surveyor with any guidance regarding the driveway. So I guess he thinks big. So we maximized the size of the driveway. There are concerns that Mass DOT, which has to approve the curb cut, would prefer a narrower driveway for residential properties. And so I told David I'd be happy to come and introduce him to this august body. And if there are any questions that I can answer, I'm happy to help, but it's really David and Bill who are going to do the talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dowd?
Thank you, Bill. And thank everybody for allowing us to come in today. My name is David Dowd, and I'm the manager of a holding entity called Evergreen Deals LLC. We purchased the property and are in the process of permitting when we discovered that some of the drawings that we had a number that did not coincide with the number that was approved by the ZBA. So looking further into that and talking to the surveyor, I'll keep a long story short. We wound up not having a conflict potentially, and we were concerned that we might build the project and run into problems at the end or run into problems with the DOT. Now, I've spoken to the DOT as well as the DPW here in Chatham, just trying to line things up and understand the application process so that we were building something that was totally approved. Last thing we would want to do is get to the as-built phase and find out we had a problem. So we're here today to seek clarity from this the ZBA, please, on on our request to make the driveway somewhere between 20 and 24 feet, which is what the DOT tells me is their standard for driveways in this situation on roads of this sort. And our curb cut is currently 30 feet, which would be overkill. That was what was approved, as Attorney Riley was kind enough to approve.
So we want to bring them in compliance, and yet it's an ongoing iterative process. If in fact we went to the DOT and they said, make it 26, make it 22, whatever. We just want to build something that will serve this body, serve the town, and also not create conflicts later on. So what we're seeking is something in writing that says potentially 20 to 24 feet, deferring to the DOT, and should there be any further variance, potentially that this body would allow your building inspector, Jay Briggs, to mitigate that so we don't have to come back a third time. So that's kind of my summary on it. We're just looking for some clarity. We're willing to cooperate, of course, and do anything. We just don't want to have conflicting directives. So thank you, and I want to introduce Bill to my left from Chapel Engineering, who is going to help us on the project.
Hello, board members. My name is Bill Terrell. I am a registered land surveyor in Massachusetts, and I work for Chappell Engineering, and I'll be representing the client on survey matters with this project. My company does a lot of work for and around Mass DOT projects, and with my engineers reviewing this had stated that, yeah, the driveway opening that is shown on that would probably not be accepted by Mass DOT due to the use and the fact of just the use of it makes it a smaller driveway opening that they would prefer. So we want to just make sure that when we actually submit these plans to Mass DOT, it's going to conform to their ideas of what is the correct opening, and that it's not going to affect the special permit that's already been in place. And we just basically want to make sure it's a smooth sail throughout the entire project.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I think that's our comments for now. Thank you.
Okay. Then I'd ask for anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application to do so either by raising your hand here or indicating on the screen so that Sarah can recognize you.
There is no one that wishes to speak in favor.
Okay, I'll read the correspondence. That's done. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please either raise your hand here or indicate on the screen again so that Sarah can recognize you.
There is no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
Okay, questions from the board. Dave T.
Dave T. has no questions.
I have no questions.
So I have a question on what is the typical residential driveway width on Route 28 in that section?
I could speak for what the DOT told us, because I talked to them about it, not specifically about that particular piece of road, but they knew about it, and I sent them the drawings and so forth. And the person that I spoke with it told me that, and by the way, this was District 5, so it's the local representative from that covers Chatham of the DOT, said that 20 to 24 feet is their norm for residentials of this kind, for this type of road. She wasn't specific because, about no one, to answer your question honestly, went out and compared it to the other driveways, but visually it seems to be quite similar, and she indicated that that's the range they generally go for.
And did the town DPW have any comment on what is normally put in, or is it arbitrary?
They said that it's really not their area to be concerned with. They're more concerned with hooking up to the town water and sewer. The reason I was talking to them was because I needed an application for that, and because the DOT told me that the DPW presents their own permit to the DOT in order to break the road to hook up for water and sewer. So that's, again, there's three different bodies getting involved here. But ultimately, the DOT, from what I understand, rules the road. And that's why we're seeking some flexibility in this in order to make it all smooth and serve all parties.
So you intend to submit blueprints to DOT saying the width of the driveway is going to be somewhere between 20 and 24 feet?
No, actually, we intend to, that's a very good question. Let me clarify, and I'm sorry if I was vague. We're seeking that flexibility in case they come back with something else. One of the drawings that was approved, I believe, had on it that a proposed new asphalt drive of 20 to 24 feet. One of the ones that Sarah circulated, when you blow it up and look at that, had that on it. So that's the drawing we'd like to propose. However, it also shows a wider curb cut. So to us, you know, not being lay people in particular, we are concerned that the curb cut and the DOT, excuse me, the driveway width, the curb cut should coincide fairly closely. And we didn't want to build a smaller or a bigger driveway and find out later on it was the wrong thing. So that's why we're seeking some clarity. But we will actually submit a drawing that's specific. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong.
Certainly.
Mass DOT has sole authority on curb cuts on Route 28. And they've indicated a range of 20 to 24 feet. David and Bill are going to submit a design of 20 feet or so, and they just need a modification so that Jay Briggs won't say, oh, this driveway doesn't match the approved plan. So it's totally up to Mass DOT. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember this project when you came in before, and I'd asked a question at the time about this access easement to be granted to the abutter. Did you survey the property? Have you done a full deed plot and?
No, I haven't, I personally have not.
No?
But I'm going to.
Okay. So is there an easement in place for that front property owner?
I think the simple answer is no, not yet. We have an agreement with that property owner regarding the easement. They've been driving over it for 30 years. They weren't supposed to, by the way. If you look at the plan approval, they were supposed to have their own access, but life goes on. So Mr. Adamo, who's my client, when we were going through the approval process, met with the property owner, and they had an agreement regarding creation of an easement. And if you look on the plan that was approved, it shows a single access going into those two little houses. And when the property is fully conveyed to David Dowd, it'll be conveyed subject to an easement that aligns with that design for the two little houses.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, frankly, how much within the purview of our board that is, but to me, that should be something that should be in place before they go too far down the line, just to make sure that this individual has access.
Yeah, but you can't create property rights. There's nothing this board can do that creates a property right. I'm telling you, we have dealt with the neighbor. We're going to give him a variance, not a variance, we're going to give him an easement. It's part of a contract.
Okay.
So I don't think you really have to concern yourself with it. So, but
That's all I had.
Randy?
Thanks. Well, just to respond to that, I don't think we are concerning ourselves with that. He just thinks that it's one of those things that should be in place before we concern ourselves with the purview of the ZBA. That makes sense. Sometimes this board thinks that certain things should be all set before we chime in. And I could be wrong, but I think that's what he meant. And I don't know what you're asking us to do. Are you asking us to say, okay, 24 inches? Or 22, or 20 to 24? What are you asking this court supposedly to do?
Let me be very specific. I'd like to conform with the drawing that Sarah has that says, that I believe was approved previously, that says 24 feet, proposed 24-foot asphalt driveway. The only flexibility I would seek is to also say, unless the DOT wants something else, in which case we'll defer for minor adjustments to the building commissioner, so we don't have to come back. If that's okay, that's what I would prefer.
Okay.
It's giving Jay a little bit of leeway to help them out.
Is that what he wants, if you know?
I've discussed it with him, I sat down with him, I asked him for that, and he told me that going from 30 down to 24 was something that he thought the ZBA should be consulted on. He said, I don't want to take that on myself, something to that effect. He was very cooperative, by the way.
No, I'm sure, yeah.
But that was it.
Okay, I'll leave it at that for me.
So if we did it 20 and 24, that allows him to adjust for Mr. Dowsey.
But we are going to go in, excuse me, we're going to, the opening salvo is going to be 24.
Yes.
Because that's what's on there, and it narrows down once you go up, once you get away from the road.
Paul?
Just to further clarify, at points you're talking about 30 feet and a driveway and a curb cut. I take it that you're not looking for us to adopt a particular curb cut. You're looking for us to adopt a range of 20 to 24 feet for the driveway?
Well, yes, sir, but also to allow us to modify the curb cut to conform with that, because you already approved a 30-foot curb cut. And the DOT is saying you don't need that much, and I don't want to have a conflict. I'm a little confused, maybe not confused is the wrong word, but we have a 30-foot dimension that's already been approved. We got a 24-foot driveway that was on some of the drawings, I'm not sure which, there's a bunch of sets of drawings around, and I'm just trying to clarify, get down to something we can build that's reasonable. So just to recap again, I'd be happy with 24 and flexibility, 24 on both, the curb cut and the driveway, unless our engineer says different, and then some flexibility or interpretation by the building commissioner.
I think a lot of people are talking about a lot of clarity, so let me help. Would you put up the proposed modification, please, Sarah? That's the driveway / curb cut that David would like approved. It's 24 feet in width, shown on a plan, filed with Sarah. And the only reason they need flexibility is if Mass DOT gives them a different number.
I believe that Mr. Temple would like to join the meeting. And if so, you're on.
Good evening, how you doing? Thank you. With respect to the proponent's, comments, he's absolutely right. Mass DOT has jurisdiction over the road cuts for this segment of the roadway. If they're telling you that the opening is going to be 24 feet max, that's counting the roundings that they would give at the edge of pavement, and then they taper down roughly 3 feet on each side into the property. So granting permission on the approved plan does not guarantee that the state is going to give you the opening at the roadway that you're looking for. So just to be upfront, we petition on behalf of the resident or the business that's looking for the curb cut and also the installation of utilities. We have to send the plans in to get approval for the applicant. So if they're telling you that it's a certain distance, I'd make certain that you're complying with what they're looking for, regardless if you think the board has already approved a certain width here, because they don't have jurisdiction over the state. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions? Yes, Buck.
So what would be the disadvantage of waiting for the DOT to approve whatever they're going to approve and then coming back to us? It seems like this here, it seems like it, and I'm waiting for the answer. It seems like this is premature.
It's absolutely not premature. because we know from speaking with DOT that they don't want a 30-foot opening. The plan that was approved shows a 30-foot opening. And so David would like to begin construction knowing that the work they're doing is capable of being approved by DOT, rather than doing something they know won't be approved by DOT, and then coming back sometime when they've got perhaps an anxious buyer wanting to buy it, but we say, well, wait a minute, we got to go back to zoning for the driveway opening. So we think it's appropriate now to give these guys the guidance so they know that the driveway width is something that's approvable by DOT, and then they can get to work.
If I may add to that, it could be an iterative process. That's one of our concerns, you know. There's no sense in bouncing back and forth. But at the get-go here, we have a conflict because a 30-foot curb cut, or actually a little in excess of that, for whatever reason with the previous surveyor, was what the board approved. And that just doesn't work, and it's obviously in conflict with the 24. And it's not with what the DOT wants. So with all due respect, I understand if we could simplify it that way, we would, but there's no guarantee that one iteration's gonna do it, or two iterations. And meanwhile, obviously, we're now already several months behind. We're gonna miss the summer season already and be into the winter season, the fall, before this whole thing's approved. Plus, there's a moratorium on breaking the road for a while because of tourist season. So to do an iterative process, even though I understand, and we're seeking clarity, I keep using that word, isn't really practical when we've got disparate bodies, and it could go back and forth. And again, we need to change what's already been approved. At least that's one reason to be here.
What is the appropriate way to refer to the plan that you're talking about? Is there a date on it, or?
Yeah, Sarah's got the plan.
Plan date is, plan was created February 20th, 2021, and revised through July 30th, 2021.
Yeah, so July 31st revision date is the plan.
July 31st revision,
July 30.
July 30 revision by
East Southeast LLC.
East Southeast? So would it be satisfactory if we were to say that we would revise our approval to be consistent with the driveway depicted on the plan dated 7/30/21 by East Southeast, as it may be modified by DOT?
Yep, absolutely. That's perfect.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with that language.
Dave Veach seconds.
Would you like to go into deliberations?
Maybe we should go into deliberations first. Have we closed the
No,
hearing?
no, we
We haven't closed the hearing?
No, I was just looking to see if there were any more questions about it.
No, but I had a comment, perhaps.
Well, no, we'll get to that. Okay. So, Paul, can we go into deliberations, please?
I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
And Dave Veach will second that.
That takes a roll call. Buck?
I approve.
Randy? Paul?
I approve.
Dave T?
I approve.
And Dave Veach approves.
Okay, let's start with Dave each for deliberations.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Paul has come up with some wording that will work, but it seems to me if we approved something that was 30 feet and DOT has come back and said, no, that's too big, I don't have an issue with it, whether, as long as it's less than 30 feet, I have no problem with it, I don't, but it sounds like Paul's wording is more appropriate, and I'm happy to go along with that, and gives them some flexibility, and, gives Jay some direction, and they shouldn't need to come back to us for anything less than 30 feet.
It also gives Jay flexibility himself, which is good.
So,
Buck?
I'm glad you guys figured it all out, because I was extremely uncomfortable with the way this was going, but thank you.
I don't have
Bill?
any further, oh, Bill.
I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah, nor do I.
All right.
I have nothing further to add, other than to say I would move to approve the application as submitted to be consistent, for the driveway to be revised consistent with the July 30, 2021 plan submitted by East Southeast and as modified as required by DOT.
Did you have any deliberations? No. Okay, go ahead.
Dave Veach seconds.
All right, roll call. Buck?
What are we doing, closing deliberations?
No,
Voting on the merits.
I approve.
I approve. Randy approves.
And I approve.
Dave Thompson approves.
and Dave Veach approves.
That's a unanimous vote. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, 22-018, please.
Application number 22-018, Wilkie Way 67 Nominee Trust, care of Michael D. Ford Esquire, P.O. Box 485, West Harwich, Mass. 02671. Owner of property located at 67 Wilkie Way, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 17D, Block 12, Lot F13. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 19-037, granted on May 19, 2019, which allowed for the construction of an addition to the existing dwelling. The applicant now seeks to modify the special permit to allow for an alternate fenestration design and roof lines. The approved building coverage will remain 6,205 square feet, 12.5%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 49,692 square feet of buildable upland in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Mike Ford representing Wilkie Way 67 Nominee Trust. With me is Dave Parker, new architect on this project, who has developed the plans that are before you. Why are we here? This board approved a special permit back in 2019, approving a site plan, a footprint, and design plans. A building permit was pulled for those plans. In fact, that building permit is still in effect. But the owner of the property has decided to make some changes to the design of the house and engaged the services of a new architect, who is Mr. Parker to my right, and his firm. And they have developed new elevations for your consideration and new design plans, none of which change any of the important metrics that the board made findings on with respect to the issuance of the special permit. By that I mean the one nonconformity, which was lot coverage, is not changed. The same footprint is being utilized. So when we submitted the revised plans to Mr. Briggs, the building commissioner, he said, well, even though there's no changes to the footprint, the special permit makes a specific finding that it is approved with design plans with a certain date and a certain architect. And therefore, I think it should go before the zoning board to get that modified to this new set of plans with a different architect and a new date. I agreed and said, we'll do that, and that's what brings us here. So that's the background. So what I would like to do, Mr. Chairman, with the board's permission and your permission, is to simply have Mr. Parker maybe walk you through very briefly what the changes are in terms of the elevations, in terms of fenestration and roof line or whatever. And then the board, then we can go to questions with respect to the design. So maybe I can turn it over to Mr. Parker.
Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Mr. Parker, you can't, unfortunately, because we're on TV
Oh, you're on
and all
TV.
that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll point.
Well, and there's a pointer up there. Maybe Mr. Ford can find it for you?
Yeah, I was going to say Riley probably took it with him.
There you go.
Good, okay. Third
top and bottom.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Thank you, and we appreciate you letting us share this with you. We presented the elevations in a series because that's how it was presented to you originally. And the rendering that is here shows you it in total, as it would look from the road. So always the top is what you previously approved, the bottom is what we're currently proposing. And in general, what we, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Almeida, who are the owners of the trust, and this will be their home, wanted to simplify the architecture of the building and the windows, making them more consistent and making the roof forms more consistent with traditional architecture on the Cape. So the entrance is the first on the left. That's the center of the building. Then to the right of that, that is the east end, as previously proposed at top, currently proposed at bottom. I'll try to reach with my pointer. Could we go to the next sheet? And this is the garage wing, which is there where the hand is on the drawing, before as proposed, as approved, and currently, and then the southwest elevation as previously proposed, as currently proposed, and as you'll see, what we've tried to do is just standardize the window pane size, for example, and the gambrel roof forms. If we could go to the next sheet. Upper left corner, the northeast elevation, which is the south wing, previously approved, and then at the bottom, currently proposed. And then upper right, this is the rear elevation of the house facing the water, the top as previously approved, the bottom as currently proposed, and in this case, trying to make the porch more sort of standard bay spacing to the columns on the porch. If we could go to the next sheet. And upper left is the north wing of the house as previously proposed, the bottom as currently proposed with the gambrel roof form. And then in the upper right, the previously approved northeast elevation on the north wing, and then below the currently proposed northeast elevation of the north wing. And finally, these are the elevations facing the auto court, which is not visible from the roadway. The upper left, as previously approved, lower right, currently proposed. Upper right is the northeast elevation, that's where the garage doors are, as previously approved, and as in the lower right, as currently proposed. And then if I could direct your attention to the rendering, this is how it would look from the front, and this is how it would appear from the water side. I think that's it. I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
So we're happy, Mr. Chairman, to take questions, Mr. Parker and I. Again, maybe I can just, I did submit some criteria findings. Frankly, again, I'm not sure how relevant they are. I think really the test for the board is the change in design, which was specifically referenced in the decision, something that changes the board's prior finding to make this substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? Or does the board find that change in design does not change that? That's really just the question before you. We're trying to substitute one plan for the other. Again, with respect to adequacy size of the site, you found that previously, and there's no changes in the building coverage. It continues at 12.5%, which was approved previously. Compatibility of the size of the structures, you found that the size of the structure was compatible last time. There's really been no change in that, other again than the design. Extent of proposed increase in non-conforming nature, there is none. This is just a change in design. suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties. I don't believe there's any change in the impact on neighboring properties by the change in design as just described by Mr. Parker. Scale, sighting, mass on the neighborhood, visual character. This has a little bit different look to it, and one which the owners of the property wanted to achieve. So I don't think there's any change in that from the prior one. Compatibility of use with neighboring properties. This is a residential zone. Wilkie Way is a neighborhood unto itself. We think this will fit in the same way you found it would fit in before. There's no changes in the septic. I don't think there's any implications with respect to noise, litter, or adequacy of utilities. And so I'd suggest that you can make a finding that to substitute this plan in the prior special permit for the prior one that was referenced would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. But certainly we're willing to take questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So is there anyone in the audience, either here or on Microsoft Teams, that would like to speak in favor of this application?
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor.
The correspondence consists of a note from Judith Giorgio, Board of Health. She writes on 322, I have no concerns regarding the modification to the special permit. That's it. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either against this application or has a specific question? If so, please indicate on the screen so we can introduce you into the conversation.
I see no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
We'll have questions from the board. Buck.
So overall, looking at the pictures and the renderings, it's definitely an improvement, in my opinion. But for the number of times I've been sitting here, I've been counseled that, we're not supposed to be looking at design per se. Stretching that a little bit under number 4, suitability of the site to the surrounding neighborhood, I could see where if something was extremely radical, we might be able to, we'll say, take pause. Is that the only clause that we're really reviewing here today? Number 4, criteria?
Well, that certainly appears to be the one that is most relevant to the requested change. So I would agree with you from that extent. I agree that the others really don't have an impact because we haven't changed any of them. So I think this is your building commissioner trying to make sure that plans that are referenced in a special permit are the plans that are built. And if they're not, the board gets to see what is proposed. And I don't necessarily quarrel with that. And that's his position.
Thank you.
Bill.
I have no questions.
Randy.
Andy has no questions.
Paul.
Well, I would just say I agree with the building commissioner's position, given that there are specific references to specific plans. I have no other questions.
Dave.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to say something. Maybe this isn't the time.
Would you rather say it during deliberations?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Dave.
And I have no questions, Dave.
All right. So let's go on to Paul.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
Need a roll call?
Buck votes yes.
Randy?
Randy votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes.
Dave?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave?
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. We'll start with Bill.
This is a gorgeous house in an amazingly visible location, and I think the changes are appropriate and are not certainly substantially detrimental to that neighborhood, and I would support it if I were voting.
Randy?
I would support it and just note that now there's the appropriate builder, architect, I should say, and the appropriate date. And so I think we're just rubber stamping that that's in effect.
Paul?
I agree with these comments.
Dave T.
Oh, Dave Thompson, yes. What a difference. This is fantastic. It fits right in with the area. It fits in with the town. You should be very proud of your creation here. I love the gambrels because I live in a gambrel. I love a gambrel. No, this is a 10 out of 10. It's an 11 out of 10. I definitely will approve this.
Dave Veach.
Yeah, and I would like to add that I mean, looking at these and looking at trying, it's just, I feel a little more relaxed looking at the newer design. So I would like to echo the comments of board members that have suggested this was an improvement. I think it is visually and certainly not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood, so I'll support it.
Buck.
I agree with the previous speaker. It's certainly not substantially more detrimental. And in fact, I feel, in my opinion, I feel it's an improved design. It's magical.
Paul.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I don't think we had any conditions on the original approval, so I think that's all we need to do.
And Dave Veach seconds.
Roll call. Buck.
Buck votes yes.
Randy votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
That's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much,
Mr.
gentlemen.
Chairman, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
members
you.
of the board.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Sarah, 22-019, please.
Application number 22-019, Jacqueline Cremens, P.O. Box 347 North Chatham, Mass. 02650, owner of property located at 110 Old Mill Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14I, Block 25A, Lot AC 10. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance generator 5 feet from the westerly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The proposed mechanical system appliance will be located next to an existing AC condensers, which are 11 feet from the westerly abutter. The lot contains 10,000 square feet in an R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Just please identify yourself, and the floor is yours.
I'm Jackie Crimmins. I'm the owner of 110 Old Mill Road, and I'm requesting a special permit to install a generator on my property for my safety and well-being to the north side of my property lot where there are 2 AC condensing units. I live full-time at the property 12 months out of the year. There are 10 houses along Old Mill Road on my side that are similar in the neighborhood to mine. Mine is 10,000 square feet. The other 10 houses range from 8.7 to 13,000 square feet. They're all 2-bedroom properties. And where my generator will be situated, the nearest full-time residence is actually 4 houses away from me. The other ones, 3 houses closer to me, are used for summer properties and for holidays. Like other places in Chatham, my neighborhood is relatively vacant, except for the summers and holidays. The generator will be 70 feet from the front of the line, 26 from the rear of the line, and 5 feet from the northwest lot. It will not be visible from the street, nor will it be visible from the properties on Spring Hill Road due to the topography of the back and the vegetation to the rear of my property. Likewise, the generator will not be visible to my adjacent neighbor. The neighbor directly next to me has a 3-foot-high retaining wall. So from the base of my generator where I hope to put it, there's a 3-foot retaining wall. To bring that up to grade, there's an additional 2.5-foot retaining wall to bring it up to the grade of his garage. The garage is what meets my property. The main house is on the other side of the property. This retaining wall will act as the sound barrier for the noise from the generator. The exhaust from the generator will go out to the rear of the property, behind his 4-foot-high retaining wall, again into the vegetation. So there will be no exhaust. The generator will test approximately 15 minutes per week, but I have 2 AC condensers on the same side, and that will probably have as much impact as a generator would. So the generator will virtually be hidden from all the properties, including the road. There's a 5.5-foot barrier behind the generator for the noise, and it will not impact the neighborhood. I have additional photos taken from the bottom looking up to the retaining wall. I have 12 copies if anybody wants a copy of that. So I don't know how you handle that here.
No, I don't think so, but thank you.
Okay.
If
And-
anybody specifically asks, then they can, yeah,
I've got
that's
'em.
right. You got it.
And you also have the packet of information that I sent to you, which gives you a lot of the same information. It also shows you a visual of where I plan to put the generator, and the site plan that shows the neighborhood and the greenery that's actually behind me. So I would ask for your approval that I can put in a generator.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate so we can introduce you into the conversation.
There is no one that wishes to speak in favor of this application.
And I do not see that there's any correspondence. So I would ask that anybody in the audience who wishes to speak either against the application or has a specific question, this is the time now where you would indicate on the screen you wish to be injected into the conversation.
There's no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
So we'll have questions from the board. We'll start with Randy.
I have no questions.
Paul?
I guess the only question I would have is, have you talked to the neighbor that's right next door to you on the 5 foot away about the placement of the generator?
Yes,
And what was the response?
he saw no problem with it.
Okay, I have no other questions.
No questions.
Davey?
I have no questions.
Buck?
No questions.
Bill?
No other questions.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
Needs a roll call vote. Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Randy?
Randy votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes?
Dave?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave?
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Start with Paul.
Well, when I saw that it was 5 feet from the neighboring property line, I was a little concerned because clearly that's a lot closer to the property line than is called for by our ordinance. And so I took a look at it, and it's correct, they have these retaining walls, which I think will help buffer it from the neighbor. The neighbor's received notification and has not in any way indicated that he is not in favor of it. And as I understand it, this is primarily a summer occupation of houses right around there. So I think, given all of those factors, I would be inclined to say that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Dave T.
I'm just in favor of it.
Dave E.
Yeah, I would agree with Paul's assessment of the situation.
Buck.
I support the comments from Mr. Semple.
Bill.
And I would say the same thing. I had the same concern, and once hearing all this information, I would support it as well.
Randy.
I also agree with all my colleagues, and I also give you a lot of credit for the great presentation you did. It's better than a lot of the ones you get.
Thank you.
Better than some attorneys, that's.
I was going to say that, but I much
Oh,
appreciate that.
no.
I'm an attorney.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I don't see a need for conditions on it.
Dave Veach seconds.
We need a roll call vote. Buck?
Buck says yes.
Randy says yes.
All votes yes?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Congratulations, that's a unanimous vote.
Thank
And
you.
As Randy mentioned, you had an excellent presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
A new career for you.
Oh, no, it's more like an old career.
Okay. Sarah, 20-020, please.
Application number 22-020, Town of Chatham, care of Weston and Sampson Engineers, Inc., 55 Walker's Brook Drive, Suite 100, Reading, Mass. 01867. Owner of property located at 160 Mill Hill Road and 0 Mill Farm Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's assessor's maps. 3H Block 1, Lot N4, Map 3H Block 1A, Lot B, Map 3H Block 3D, Lot 4, Map 3H Block 8, Lot ND1, Map 3H Block 3C, Lot 3, and Map 3H Block 3B, Lot 2. The applicant proposes to construct a public utility building for municipal water supply improvements in an R60 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit under Section 3C1C7. The proposed structure, driveway, parking area, and fencing will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw. The total land area is 31.55 acres in an R60 and MC zoning districts. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 3C1C7 and 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Okay, before we begin, as I mentioned in the introductory remarks, Buck might have to leave, he has. So the voters will be Bill, Randy, Paul, and the two Daves. Let's see, who do we have presenting this, Sarah?
Tom, are you doing the presentation, or is someone from Weston and Sampson doing it?
It doesn't look like Tom on the
It would
screen.
be Leah Stanton from Weston and Sampson that'll be presenting tonight on behalf of the town of Chatham.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here with James Pearson. James, are you there, and are you able to get a site plan to share?
Yes, I'm here, and I have both the site plans up, so if we need me to share my screen, I'm more than happy to do so.
Do you all have the site plan in front of you? Would it be helpful if James shares his screen?
Actually,
Yeah, I can share the screen.
Sarah can do it.
Even better. Great. Okay. So I am here to talk about wells 10 and 11, which are wells that we have been talking about for a long time. The wells themselves, this is a site, a parcel of land that the town owns off of Mill Hill Road. When we put the wells in 2010, and we were planning on using them for water supply wells, and they came across contamination, MTBE contamination. So the project was put on hold. In the last 2 or 3 years ago, we went out and did additional pumping tests of these wells. We did additional sampling and found out that the contamination had moved on, and that the MTBE was all below non-detectable. And the town decided and hired Weston and Sampson to move forward with putting this project out to bid. So what you're looking, and I should also mention that back in 2010, the concept was to use that little paper street there, private way, Mill Farm Lane. When we went out and started looking at this last year, we worked with the town personnel to try to and identify, and I think also in the meantime the town picked up this other parcel of land to the south of Mill Farm Lane, which included the property that T.W. Nickerson does their work on. T.W. Nickerson leases this land from the town. So in order to keep industrial traffic with industrial traffic, we opted to move the access road for this well pump station to where you see it now. And it comes in the side, it comes in off of Mill Hill Road, right behind the T.W. Nickerson operation, follows along and then kind of takes a turn. And then what you're looking at is the building, the box, and then there's two chutes off to the two wells. Okay, so the wells 10 and 11 are in those two locations. They will pump water to this building that you see on the site, which is about, James, I don't remember, the square footage was in the write-up. 3,000, 4,000 square foot building. And we'll have chlorine. It will be chemically dosed with chlorine, a corrosion inhibitor, and a pH, something to adjust the pH. And then it will be pumped out into the town's distribution system for water supply. James, did I miss anything?
No, I think you did great. If you want, I could elaborate a little further at this point if we want to talk about the specific elements of what we're putting on the site. So first of all, we mentioned that we have an access road coming into the site from Mill Hill Road. We're proposing to do just a little paved apron as people come off of the road. And then we're proposing to do a gravel roadway for a few hundred feet until we get back to the building. Next to the building and just kind of south of the building, I guess, is kind of a graveled area that would allow for some vehicular parking. And then as you go sort of to the south side of the building, there is going to be a paved area next to it. And it kind of is shaped like a letter Y right there. And the idea there is that trucks are going to be able to pull in next to the building, do chemical deliveries, and then do sort of a maneuver where they pull into one leg of that Y, back into the other one, and then pull back out to head back out the driveway. So that's the only paving on site. And then from the legs of that Y turnaround area, we have some gravel road extensions that go to each of the two wells. So that's what those two legs of the road are that you see kind of at the upper left of the page there. And we're also proposing to do some grading of an area behind the building, sort of to the northeast of the building there. You can see there's a big rectangular area. That's an area for a potential future expansion of the building. And so what we're doing is we're just kind of grading it out, placing gravel there in preparation for some future expansion that may take place. We have some other things on site that are kind of at the south side of that little kind of paved Y-shaped piece. We have a proposed propane generator, and we have two proposed 2,000-gallon propane storage tanks that will provide propane for that generator. And there's also a transformer pad right there for the electrical supply to the building. We're bringing electricity into the site via underground conduit so that there won't be any overhead wiring coming in. And I should say, traffic-wise, operationally, what we're doing is there'll be an operator that might stop by the building maybe once a day or so for maybe half hour to an hour. And so there would really only probably be a need for one vehicle to be parking on here, but we have ample space for additional vehicles if there was ever a need for, a couple more operators, due to maybe some need for some maintenance or something. And as I said, there would also be periodic deliveries from a truck coming in here. Leah, do you have any intel as to how often that would occur?
Monthly. Roughly monthly.
Monthly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that is how the site lays out, kind of in a nutshell. You can see that it's sitting on town property, that the town owns multiple parcels in this area that total, over 1 million square feet of area. So, we're probably at least 700 or 800 feet from the nearest non-town owned parcel. So we have plenty of buffer space. And in any case, that's the project in a nutshell, and I'd open it up to any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, both of you. I would ask if there are anybody in the audience, and now we're kind of reduced to Microsoft Teams, that wishes to speak in favor of this application. This is an opportunity for you to indicate on the screen you wish to join the conversation. Okay. Mr. Temple.
Yeah, on
You're
behalf
on.
of the department, I'd like to speak in favor of this project. This is something that one of our resources that we badly need, and I'd like to see this move forward.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to join? I don't see anybody. Do you, Sarah? The correspondence consists of a note from Judith Giorgio, Board of Health. She writes on 3/23, I've reviewed the plan for the municipal water supply building improvements and have no concerns at this time. Then we have a note. This is from Ali Sabatino. She is our principal planner for the town of Chatham. She writes on March 4th, the planning board scheduled to review this application at their March 28th, 2022 meeting. When a planning board determination has been made, we'll follow a copy to you for your files. And I believe that is it. That's it. Is there anyone in the audience who has a specific question or wishes to speak against this application? If so, please indicate on the screen.
There's no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
Okay, then we'll have questions from the board. Dave T.
Dave T. has no questions.
Dave V.
I have no questions.
Bill.
Maybe you can help me out by putting the site plan back on the overall. Sarah, can we do that? Can you just show me where TW's building is in the main operation where you go in and purchase stone or mulch? Just so I can get a perspective. It's on
Whose
Mill Hill.
hand is that on the board?
Is that it?
So
That's me with the hand.
Is that about it? I think that's what I thought. I mean, So the access road is off of Mill Hill, obviously, before you get to TW's building. Correct?
So the building for TW Nickerson is actually just off of that asphalt apron that you see, if that makes sense. When you come into Mill Hill Road, the building is on the right, and then you can swing around into that gravel road, which looks like Dusty Hill Road. Sorry, I just kind of lost it because you took the map off for me. So it looks like Dusty Miller Lane, right? And then if you keep going past and through that asphalt apron that we're showing on the plans is where all of the stockpiles of wood are and all of that. Does that help at all? You're literally going to drive past the piles of firewood and all that other material.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so you're going to drive in between those bank of cars there.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Then, okay, well, that helps me because I was just trying to get a perspective of the proximity of all the stockpiles in the back of TW, where TW's operation is versus where the wells are.
The stockpiles are very likely going to need to move. There's no question, but they can. They're pretty transient, and there's enough room to take care of that.
Okay.
If the road literally goes through those stockpiles. You can see the stockpiles on that map.
Right. Okay. When you did when originally you drilled the wells, you said there was contamination in the wells originally. When were those wells drilled again?
2009, 2008.
Oh. And what was the source of the contamination?
So it's the MTBE contamination. It's the fuel additive for the gasoline I don't know if you follow all of that, but the state had a class action lawsuit against all of the gasoline stations. But it's that. Methyl, terryl, butyl, ethylene,
Yeah.
I believe, MTBE.
And were you ever able to determine what the source of that may have been that was getting into those? Because, and then, so when did you subsequently do the testing to determine that they were okay? I'm sure.
2019.
Oh, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was gone. The contamination was non-existent.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had, Dave. Thanks.
Randy?
I don't have any questions.
Paul?
Do you have a rendering of the building that's going to go there?
Was that not part of the submission? It was, right?
I believe the site plans, the site plans do have some architectural elevations that you can look at to see what the building's going to look like.
Yeah. It looks like, there you go. It's a CMU block building with brick veneer on the outside. And I'll be honest with you, it looks exactly like your water treatment plant on Morton Road, because that's what we were aiming for.
Okay, thank you. That gives me an idea. Thank you.
Dave?
Dave Thompson, no questions.
Dave?
And Dave Veach has no questions.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
Everybody's got to vote on that. Bill?
Bill votes yes.
Randy votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Dave Veach?
Well, I mean, I'm certainly don't think it's going to have any negative impact on the neighborhood. And so I don't think it would be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Meets our criteria. The only thing, and I didn't do this during questions, but is there any problem with us acting prior to the planning board on this?
I don't think there's any problem at all.
Okay, all right. So, no, it's certainly something that I can support and meets all of our criteria and is not substantially detrimental, so I will vote for it.
Bill?
I would agree. It's certainly something the town needs, and we're all aware of the problem with the water in town, so I would support it as well.
Randy?
I would also support it.
Paul?
It's clearly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, so I will support it.
Dave Thompson will definitely support it.
Motion?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds.
All right. Roll call vote. Bill?
Bill votes yes.
Randy votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, that is a 5-0 vote. Congratulations, and thank you all for participating.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We changed the fenestration on the building.
Okay, I can't think of anything else we need to discuss. Paul, you got anything up your sleeve? Oh,
Oh, no? Oh,
next meeting?
Our next meeting, April 14th, will begin at 3 PM rather than 4 PM due to the length of the agenda.
We have a lot to do. So we're going to start a little early. So
I think given that,
write that down on the back of a hand or something, but
I'll move to adjourn.
that's a roll call. Everybody votes. Bill?
Bill votes yes.
Randy votes yes.
All votes yes.
I vote yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
David seconded and also votes yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all, and good night. We stand adjourned.